So, hi Jada, it's great to be with you tonight. So kicking things off, what has been your journey with music from starting out until now, your time at Temple?
I've basically always been a singer. I like to tell the story that I so let me back up for a sec. I am a Chinese adoptee, and I like to tell the story that my parents told me when I was a kid how when they shortly after they held me for the first time, um, I sang my first notes on a bus ride in China. So I like to joke that ever since then I've been a singer. So quite literally from like 1 year old. Um, but yeah, I always did choir as a kid. I started in fourth grade through my senior year. I did different a cappella groups and some outside choirs and some theater here and there. And then I started songwriting when I was 13. And since then, my music has really become a lot more personal, and I write about my mental health. So my journey kind of started off as typical kid takes piano lessons starting at 5 years old, and then I guess it just became something else. It became my passion, and it's something that I just need every day in my life. I need music in my life, and whether I'm listening to it or creating.
Yeah, you've already got 10 years plus experience under your belt, so that's awesome. And speaking of, songwriting and drawing from experience, how do you take what you experience in your life and format it into a song?
I would say that most of the time an idea just comes to me. Usually, I'm just thinking about a specific event or a certain like topic or theme. Um, and I'll just think of like some lyrics to like a chorus or a verse. Like it literally can be me walking on the street, it can be me eating dinner, and I will like go and grab my phone and put my voice memo on and record my idea because I never want to forget it. Um, and so it kind of just starts out like that. Like sometimes I will maybe be going through like a really hard time or having a rough day, and I'll just sit at my piano and just start to compose how I'm feeling as a way to understand myself, like how I was feeling that day. And so it can also be used as a coping mechanism, which is definitely a huge thing that my songwriting has turned into because that's what I turn to in the hardest times.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a way to kind of, like you said, understand yourself and really put all the pieces together and also make something really cool out of it, which is an added plus.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what artist inspired you most overall? Whether that's someone who got you through a tough time, or if there's a lyric from an artist that maybe you've related to the most.
Um, the first artist I always think of is Anson Zebra because he's just kind of been in my life through the darkest moments. Not literally, but well, I guess kind of. Um, in my worst time when I was 13, like when I was really going through a severe depression, I was listening to Amazon Music one day and his song Broken came up, and I really resonated with it because some of the lyrics are like, am I broken? Am I flawed? And I just really felt like I could connect with that and resonate with him. Because that's how I was feeling in the moment. Um, and so every time he releases something new, ever since then, I've been a super fan, as they call them. But also, just I always loved Adele, Sam Smith, and then Caitlin Tarver, another one, kind of like Innocent, how I had a song "You Don't Know," which came on that she wrote, and it was just I could completely resonate with her feelings. And it was about like, oh, you don't know like how it feels to like feel depressed or feel like this way. She didn't like specifically mention it, but I feel like it's open to interpretation. So I took that as kind of something I was going through.
Yeah, definitely. And you said that you weren't really with the artist, but I feel like they are. They're just kind of always with you, whenever you need that inspiration, that thing to relate to. And I love how you were citing specific lyrics because that's always, everyone has theirs. that is like,
Yeah.
okay, that's the one.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, true. They are with you. You might not be with them, but you never know in the future.
Yeah. Um, so you've touched on this a little bit already, but you've worked with a few mental health organizations based on your experiences, like This Is My Brave. So what does mental health advocacy look like and mean to you, and why is it so important?
I think mental health advocacy is being a voice for others who might not yet feel comfortable talking openly about their mental health struggles, um, letting them know that there are people and resources to help them, which is super important. And in my experience, sharing my own struggles with depression and anxiety is meant to like help break the stigma because like when I was going through the really rough time, I didn't want to talk about it. I felt like I couldn't for whatever reason that a lot of people feel, and that's the stigma. Um, and so like mental health advocacy to me is like the more you talk about mental health, the more you share your personal experiences, it'll help other people and they'll feel like they're allowed to. Maybe they'll even want to share how they feel. Um, and like ultimately, it's fighting to like end suicide because there are just way like too many people who die by suicide, and I think just collectively like society, like I know society wants to like make a change and like just help the crisis that we're even still in. And so I can just relate to that personally because like I struggled with self-harm, I struggled with suicidal ideation, and I never want anyone to feel that way. Um, and I've like really worked to overcome that. So I just want other people to see that light at the end of the tunnel.
Definitely, that's a great mission, and thank you for sharing it not only in your music but here as well, and taking that vulnerability in stride.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and so speaking of, your music and relating it to your experiences, you released All in My Head. So what was kind of the process behind that, even recording it, recently? Um,
Yeah,
what has that been like?
that was an incredible experience. Also super stressful. So All in My Head was my first self-produced single.
Oh wow,
And
that's awesome.
yeah,
Congratulations.
so, thank you. Yeah, I wrote it about, I don't even remember, maybe a year or two ago, and I actually produced it in Temple's Tech Center. And so
Wow.
they have
And it sounds that
yeah,
great. Everyone,
thank
that is
you.
amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I found out they have a MIDI keyboard studio, and I write all my songs on piano. So I used that studio, and then I like did work in GarageBand and recorded it at home in my sunroom for vocals. And so yeah, that's like the first piece that I completely put together myself. Like everything else, I like wrote and I composed, but like I recorded in the studio, which like I think what makes my song so different is that I basically have like piano and voice for most of them, and I don't have like a lot of that like background like drums or like any of that because I feel like it's in I don't know, like for my feeling, the simplistic aspect of the songs is what makes it so like emotional and like people are able to connect to it more because you're really focusing on my lyrics. I kind of sidetracked, but yeah, the process was like really fun because I was just like teaching myself how to produce. Um, but it was also stressful because I'm so overly nitpicky about my work. And so it took me probably way longer than it needed to, but I'm very happy with the results. So wouldn't do anything differently.
Definitely. And next question, would you do it again, self-producing? The big question.
Oh, for sure. Oh
Okay,
yeah. No,
awesome.
I've been in tech center even since then, like working on some stuff. Yeah, not anything super specific, but I definitely want to keep going on the route of self-production just because I feel like it it gives me complete control
Mhm.
over my song. And I really like that because only I'm the one who can really capture the feeling, and I definitely have visions for my songs like in my head of like how I want it to sound. Um, and especially with just like doing it in GarageBand, it gives me the opportunity to maybe add some other instruments or like overlap my vocals, which I haven't done before in the past. And so yeah, I just like that I'm able to do more with my songs and like really get it to be where I want it to go.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're not liking how it's feeling, you can scrap it and you're not wasting, a producer's like resources, their studio. It's just like,
Exactly.
starting again. Let's do it.
And you're not wasting anyone's money,
Yes.
specifically your own money.
It is all
So
you.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome that you're starting so, early on in your career with self-producing, because usually that's like, I have 5 or 6 albums under my belt. I'm going to produce this whole thing myself. And it's a whole different venture with, they have to hire all the other musicians and then deal with the label. So it's great that you're, starting out strong on the ground with self-producing.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that starting this way is helpful because even if eventually it does get to a point where you're having a team or you're having a band, like it's more about knowing what you want in the end if you're the one writing it and it's like your story or like your experiences. Because like eventually like I would love to like be collaborating with other artists on songs. But right now it's just kind of what's available and playing around with it to see where it could go in the future.
Definitely. And speaking of what's going on in the future, you've also written some poetry as well, which is beautiful, I will say. So how do you
Thank
determine,
you.
what stays a poem and then what is turned into lyrics or a song or something else?
That's a great question. I just write them with different mindsets. Like I'll go into writing a poem being like this is a poem, and then I'll go into writing a song just like knowing it's going to be a song because usually it comes with some sort of melody or tune in my head. Like sometimes more often than not, the melody comes before the lyrics.
Oh,
Or I'll just like kind of like mutter some random lyrics while singing an interesting thing. Um, but poetry, usually I'm thinking about like one specific, like, I guess just like one specific event, whereas music, it can sometimes just be like a general, like, this is how I feel like when I've been in a depressed state, or like this is how I feel when I'm anxious. Um, it's not always like one specific thing, um, or moment, but yeah, like my poetry is more so just like whatever comes to mind.
yeah.
Yeah. Which I guess the other one can be too, but I hope that answered your question.
No, definitely. And that's where those voice memos come in. I'm sure you've got a ton of them.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No, I definitely do. I have hundreds.
so do you like have any of them ever combined, taking one piece from one song, like having the same vibe, or are they all, similar or like separate ideas that turn into something else?
So it's funny you ask that. I have like one specific song. Well, I guess it's two, where I took like the bridge of one of the songs and put it on the other song because there's this one song I started years ago, right? And like the first half of it, I was like, this is so great, but like I can't finish it. Like I'm just stuck. Like sometimes that happens. And when I was home for, I think it was spring break, I like put the bridge of a different song on it and I was like, wait, this works so perfectly. And like I think I actually ended up like swapping the two. But yeah, like I write kind of in different genres. Like most of it like sounds kind of like a similar genre, but I have written stuff that's like more like some jazzy tunes, more some like I'll have my ballads and then I'll have my just whatevers that I don't even know what it is. Um, but yeah, honestly, classifying a song genre is really difficult sometimes because like I tell people like yeah, I'm pop or like indie pop, which I feel like indie pop can describe it a little better, but it's not like you're gonna hear, pop on the radio. Like you wouldn't necessarily think of my songs as pop, more like singer-songwritery.
Yeah, definitely. And I was, as you were saying that, I was like, we didn't cover genre, but then I thought about it again, and I was like, I don't think we have to.
Yeah, like I think that's one thing about being an independent artist is that you can kind of have your own vibe, like you don't have to like structure your song in like such a specific way to like fit the radio or like fit something in like a mold. Like I like that I'm able to just be creative with it and do whatever. Cause also like even if you look at like Taylor Swift, who started out as a country artist and like who's not really anymore. So like as people grow up, their genre changes.
Yeah. And speaking of, set lists and, mentioned Taylor Swift, the set list changing every night, which is always exciting to see. You have a show coming up this Friday with Bell Tower Music. So what are you thinking for the set list? How did you get booked for that show? What was the whole story?
Yeah, so it was super exciting. Gavin reached out to me and he asked me if I wanted to perform at the Bell Tower, which I was so excited because even before I came to Temple, like I always knew I wanted to get involved with Bell Tower Music because like the student run record label, like I just think the entire concept is incredible because especially I want to go into the music business. And so, when I got this opportunity, I was like, this is literally exactly one of the reasons why I came here. Like, I always knew I wanted to do something or perform with them. And so I will be performing about a half hour set list of original songs, and some of them are released and some of them are unreleased. So I kind of sprinkled them in there. Not necessarily, well, I did specifically order them, but like the unreleased versus released are kind of not, they're not like one way or the other, like beginning or end. They're just kind of in there. So I feel like it'll be good to showcase what I already have out because I haven't done like a ton of performing with my originals live. Um, and so some of these songs I actually haven't performed live before, which is super cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. Like, yeah, I can't talk. Everyone getting the
You're good.
exclusive on it.
Yeah, yeah. If you come out, you will.
Yes. And when and where is the show?
So the show will be in the Annenberg Atrium and it'll be at 7 p.m. and doors open at 6 on Friday, April 7th, this Friday. So I'm so psyched.
Very exciting stuff. I'm so excited for you because that's amazing to, get the chance to perform to people at Temple who are always looking for new music, and getting in touch with Bell Tower is awesome too because they're always advocating for artists from Temple.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm just I think what they're doing is great. Like I love that Bell Tower creates, these opportunities, even for like people like me who aren't even signed. Like I just feel really honored to be a part of it.
Yeah, definitely. And so do you have any pre-show rituals? I think that's always a fun question.
Ooh. Um, let me think.
You can make some new ones this Friday.
I mean, I guess not really, just like staying calm, like breathing.
Mhm.
That's important for sure. Like I think even though I have over the years like started performing live a lot more, sometimes in smaller settings that can seem more intimidating because you're like right there with people. And so I think just like staying calm and getting in my zone. Like once I'm in my zone, I'm good. Like when I'm singing, my zone, as I call it, is like when I get lost in my music and I'm not even really having to think about what I'm playing or what I'm singing. Like I'm just doing it. And I think that's when it like sounds the best because it's just natural. Like you're not trying to like force yourself to sound better or play better or anything.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna try to get in my zone on stage and then take it from there.
I know you will, and I know the audience will feel it too.
Thank you.
So wrapping up before I, let you promo everything and let everyone know where to find you, I ask this question to pretty much every guest who comes on my show. And it's if you could ask one person one question, who would it be and what would you ask them?
So I actually really had to have to think about this because That's a very difficult question to ask. Um, I would say I would ask my biological mother if she sings. Um, I've never really thought about that before, but I really just wonder because I don't have any, like, knowledge of my bio history, and so because I'm so musical, like, it's literally almost embedded into my soul. I would really like to know if she sings.
Yeah. So wrapping up, where can everyone find you on streaming services, on socials? Where can they, go and support you?
Yeah, you can find me on any music platform, Jada Reese, Jadareese, and my user is Jada Reese Music on Instagram, TikTok, all of that. Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Well,
yeah, go stream.
yes, go stream them all up, put them on all your playlists.
Yes, please. Thank you so much, Caitlin.
Yeah, of course.